how was the decision made that you were going to leave, and what was that process like?
Well, it was an interesting process. My best friend and I were spending the night at a friend's house because this was the first day. The first night was Monday night, the same night that I had gone to the protests, and we felt like the situation was good. We felt like it was better. We felt like the country was returning not to normalcy, but the violence was over. That morning at 4 a.m., my best friend's mother called my best friend and said, "You will be getting on a plane as soon as we can get you on one. Be ready to leave at 8:30. We've just watched CNN. CNN is saying that all their correspondents are being kicked out of the country, that no other networks will be allowed to report on the situation. They're talking about another communications blackout. At this point, we had our cell phones turned back on.
But you had no internet access, right?
We had no internet. We had no cell phones.
I was sending you emails like crazy. I was sending you emails. I know. But yeah, you couldn't get them.
But we couldn't get them. It was really
You left your cell phone in this country, right?
I did leave my cell phone in this country. But I had another one, which was not working. And the internet was turned off. And they were saying that they were going to re-crack down on cell phones. So turn off the cell phones again. Potentially turn off landlines, which was for a long time our only form of communication. And that kind of was the last straw for my best friend's parents. They were like, "This is getting too scary. We don't know what's going to happen." If they're saying that these things are going to happen, that kind of, it's a pretty foreboding sign that really terrible things are about to happen in this country. So they put us on a plane the same day. We were very disoriented when we got off the plane in JFK. We thought we were going to go to Europe, and in the car we said, where are we going? And they were like, "You're going to JFK. You're going off the plane in New York City." We're like, "Okay, that's quite a trip."
How long a trip is it?
It's an 11-hour flight. So it was just straight shot, no stops, one way ticket to JFK. And so I've been in New York now, trying to figure out my next steps.
And when you landed, you said you were going to return in 5 days. I remember.
Well, my best friend and her sister will be returning on Sunday, and I will be discussing with my parents today whether I will be on that flight or not. I really want to believe that this is kind of the upward swing of the whole process. But of course, in this kind of situation, you never know. You never know if, how long the protesters will be able to hold out, whether the government will have enough of them, whether, things will take a turn for the worse, or in fact, if things will really take a turn for the better. And if there really will be concrete steps taken to.
And I have a couple of other questions, then we'll let you go because we know you have other interview options.
My God, you're so famous.
That's crazy.
So, to what extent, I'm just holding this up because I know you've read it and I pointed it out to you. To what extent is the unrest a function of the unemployment it's like 30% unemployment among the youth? And they define youth in this particular article, and maybe in the Mideast as well, as kids late teens, so 16 to 25. And actually, they also say that the youth unemployment, is responsible for the unrest from Europe through the Middle East. So right. It's quite a pervasive problem. To what extent do you think that's behind what's happening?
I think that plays a large part. I think that it's not the only part, but I think that it definitely plays a large role. There are just hordes of people who have college degrees because, of course, in order to kind of appease the youth, they have made it easier to get into college. They've lowered the prices of college. They've increased the enrollment of universities and public, educations as well as private. But once, I don't think that they thought ahead to the next step, which is once you have all these college educated individuals, what do you do with them? You have to, find them somewhere to work. And a lot of the problems that are facing the youth are widespread and, exist in all the countries, including, unfortunately for us, America at this point. But there's also just an incredible level of corruption that is only adding to the problems. If you do not know someone, you cannot get a bank loan or get any capital to start a business. If you don't know someone, you can't get an interview to get a job. If you don't know someone, you can't get a job. You cannot get formal employment. So a lot of people are turning to the informal sector, which is gigantic in Cairo, but obviously not lucrative. It's not stable, and it's not, enough to start to support a family for sure. So then you're ending up with social problems because people can't afford to get married. They can't afford to have children. But of course, those things still happen.
And they have you have a lot of young people with a lot of time on their hands, just,
exactly,
hoping for change and hoping for better.
Exactly. So the corruption is a huge problem. There's a very small number of people who hold a lot of the wealth, which is the same. It's actually the same ratio as it is in America. It's just that the reasons are different. So in America, while there's still, 1% of the population holds 90% of the wealth, you don't have this feeling of, I can't express myself. There's no way for me to ever reach that level because I wasn't born into, the right family who has the right connections to get me, where I want to be. And that is kind of what these people are protesting about. They're not saying, I want to be rich. They're saying, I want the opportunity to feed my children. I want the opportunity for my children to go to college and get a job that is going to be stable, that is going to get them into the middle class. And I want, the people who are not allowing this to happen, who are stopping me at every turn, to allow me to say that, to allow me to freely in public say, you're the problem and you need to fix it. And so I believe that this is a wonderful time for the Middle East, for Egypt in particular, and also for the world. I think that it says a lot about us if we can get, one more country into a stable democratic state where people have the right to free expression, where people have the right to say what they believe and to hold those feelings and those people accountable who are kind of trying to keep them down.
It's not just any country. It happens to be a very significant country. Then one final question, and then we'll let you go. And you answered it earlier in a different interview that I happened to be involved in, and that was, how do you think the media, in particular the American media, are handling the story?
Like I said before, I am really impressed with CNN's coverage. I have not seen, for example, Fox News. I don't know what they're saying. Although I can only imagine.
Okay.
I did hear.
Okay.
I heard a tale. I heard a tale that they mislabeled a map and that they put Egypt where Iran was.
Oh, nice.
I did not see that with my own eyes. But they were. So I don't know about that. But CNN is doing a really wonderful job. Al Jazeera, I have to say, I did not really watch Al Jazeera before this, but they had 24-hour live coverage of the events. And while I think some of what they said was a little bit blown out of proportion, it was still really, really impressive. It's a dangerous environment there for journalists, and I'm really, really grateful to all the journalists who are risking, honestly, their lives to cover the events that are happening right now. The journalists that are being harassed, my heart, goes out to them. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible system where there's no, checks and balances. So if you're a journalist and you say the wrong thing, you could end up beaten, you can end up in jail, you can end up disappearing. And so I'm really grateful to CNN and to all the networks that are covering it as with the level of depth that they are. They're talking about the names of the new prime ministers, the names of, the new ministers who have been put in place. Anderson Cooper is doing a phenomenal job of keeping his eye right on that ball. It did get very personal for him. He was, in fact, attacked. And I'm just incredibly grateful to him for bringing it to light and to people's attention. And I hope that the public does not lose focus and really sticks with the Egyptian people, because we need as much support as we can get.
Well, the Broads, will certainly do our share with your help.
Add us to
Yeah.
the list.
Yeah.
Anderson Cooper, the Boomer Broads. We are there for
Andy,
you.
Andy.
Honey,
love Andy.
we'll let you go talk to your parents and try to twist their arm.
Thank you.
I really have mixed feelings as to whom I'm voting for.
I know, but I will definitely stay in touch, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
If you
Thanks,
do wind
Laila.
up going back, first of all, please take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
As a mom, I really, I understand as a news person, I understand your interest in going back, because you really are in the middle of history. But as a mom, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. But if you do
No,
go back to
no.
yourself, and for
Cross your fingers.
please keep your cell phone with you.
Absolutely.
'Cause-
I'm gonna email you my new number
Great.
today.
And we would love to stay in touch. Laila, thank you so much, honey.
Thank you. Bye, Boomer
Bye,
Bras.
honey.
Stay boomin'.
Yeah, we will.
Stay
Bye bye.
booming.
Bye bye.